Hi, thanks for stopping by my channel. My name is Holly, and today we're going to make these super cute pencil cups using 14-ounce stainless steel mugs that I got from the Stainless Depot company. I will list the link below along with any other supplies and tools that I used during the creation of these tumblers. So I am starting with a prepped, when I say prepped, I always sand my tumblers and then spritz them with rubbing alcohol to get any of that residue off. And that's how I prep it. Sometimes I spray paint. This one is not spray painted. I decided to go ahead and tape it off first the hard way. So what I did is I created a stencil on my Cricut machine from Cricut Design Space, the dimensions of the tumbler, and then I put a little zigzag in there and I drew the lines for where I wanted the color, and it was a pain in the butt. So I do not recommend this, but for this tumbler, and this is the only one I did it for, I used these little removable vinyls as my stencils for the placement of my color, and then I removed them a little bit at a time as I added my glitters or my colors. So I'm going to fast forward through this because this is tedious and not necessary at all. There's a lot of shortcuts you can take, and I will explain what those are next. So after I placed my stencil, or not my stencil vinyls, but my removable vinyls as my stencils, I still had little gaps because my vinyls I didn't measure perfectly in Cricut Design Space, and I had some little space between. So then again, to make my job harder, I taped those off with masking tape, and then I'm going to go outside and I'm going to spray paint this white. I recommend a spray paint. Some of these I spray painted white. Some of them I did the yellow section with a yellow spray paint. Others I used acrylic paint. I do not enjoy painting. I don't know why. It's not something that's fun for me. Maybe it'll get fun or become fun once I do it more. I don't know. I just don't enjoy painting. So I will prefer always to just put my glitters on a stainless steel tumbler unless that look is not preferable. In this case, it was better to do a white spray paint or a yellow. That was really long-winded. Took the tumbler outside to spray paint with Color Shot Flat White Primer spray paint and accidentally took off a little triangle of my stencil vinyl. That's okay. The bottom of this, I'm not going to use any black paint at all. I'm just going to use my glitters right over the top of it. I'm going to apply those with UV resin. So I'm going to apply the UV resin and then pour my glitter combination on top of it. I am mixing a black glitter with a silver glitter. Those are listed below. And so if you look below and you just look for the colors of the glitters, I put all the colors in there. And so if you want to mix the same glitters I did to recreate these tumblers, I have all of them listed in combination below, separated by the companies that I got them from. Anyway, so I'm mixing my glitters, and it has specks of silver in the glitter, which will cover the silver base of the tumbler if any of that shiny silver pokes through. So no big deal, don't need a base coat. I just squirt that UV resin right there on the base of the tumbler and then use a fairly big brush because there's a lot of area to cover. And I like the brushes for UV resin that are either sharply angled or have a very crisp line and are flat. I don't like to use chip brushes. I don't want anything accidentally smearing or poking over into one of the other colors or an area that I don't want it, because that UV resin is no joke. Once you apply it and you start curing it, it is there. So I don't want to accidentally cure something that was going to be a different color. So I'm just very carefully using my brush to do a nice straight line around the base, and then I'm going to dump that glitter over the UV resin and I'm going to take it outside to cure. I really struggled with the yellow and the pink light colored glitters over the top of my non-painted base tumblers because some of those glitters that I used were opal. Actually, a lot of them were. And so what I wound up actually doing is mixing together some chunkies and some fines to create more depth of those glitters. And then it was easier to hide the base color of that silver coming through. But just to make your life easier, just base coat your tumbler. It saves you a lot of time. I would have only had to do one layer of this pink had I had a base coat like a pink or white over the top of that tumbler. These two browns that I'm using are two of my go-to browns. I'm mixing a light, it's called Santa Time, a light brown mixed with a dark brown. And I believe both of these glitters are metallic. I can't remember, but they have really good coverage. They hid the base of my tumbler, even the ones that were not prepped. So the stainless steel hid it perfectly. I only needed one coat of that glitter over the top and it was good to go. So really good glitters to choose if you are not going to base paint your tumbler. And I know that you can see all the brown glitters that fell onto the black, and you don't even have to panic or worry about that because I'm using UV resin. The only wet areas are the triangular areas that I'm applying the resin to right now. And then I'm going to dump the brown glitters over the top. So when I take it outside, and that black is already cured. So when I take the tumbler outside to set in the sun to let the brown areas cure, that's the only area where that brown glitter is going to stick because nothing else is wet. And then when I bring it back inside, as long as it's completely cured, you should be able to take a dry chip brush to give your tumbler a quick wipe down. So I just swooped from like the white area down. I always go from like the light color to the dark color just in case, and just dust it off quickly, gently, and then you shouldn't have any brown onto that black at all because the black isn't wet. It should have been already cured. For my yellow, I am mixing a finer cut glitter with a chunky cut glitter. So I'm doing Crystallized Sun mixed with, I think it's Buttercup, and super pretty color combination. When you pour it onto your tumbler, your UV resin or whatever you're using to stick your glitter on, that fine glitter is going to fill in any of the open areas that the chunky glitter doesn't hit. It just looks really pretty. Very high sparkle, this combination. So I've already covered the white spray painted area of this tumbler with UV resin. So now I'm just sprinkling on that yellow glitter mixture. Out in the sun it goes. Bring it back in. Use a dry chip brush to dust it off. And then we are ready for the handle. I did the handle completely separately because I was worried about bumping the other colors or messing up. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't just do it all together. But I did the handle just like a pencil as well. So I put the pink up at the top and then yellow on the majority of the handle, and then finish with a little section of brown and a teeny section of black. So you can see when this one spins around. There we go. So that's the handle that I did for all of them. One of them I accidentally got backwards. I did the black on top and the pink on the bottom. You can see it over there toward the end. Oh well. I messed up. It's okay. It's still cute. I'm using Dino's tumbler turners. Right here I have a stack of 1, 2, 3. I think I have 4 turners. The one closest to the camera is a 2-arm quick release. The one in the middle is a 5 original arm stacked. And then I have one of the tilt Dino's tumbler that's just kind of high up. So you can see that. Well, actually you can't see it. That one's a quick release. And then at the very end with the one that's spinning a little bit faster, that one is one of the it's like a smaller version of the quick release tumblers. So Dino's, I've had these turners since I started making tumblers. Absolutely love them. I took all of these tumblers outside. I know that I used UV resin, but there was one day where the sun wasn't totally out, and so I actually had to cure them with my UV lamp inside, and that one doesn't cure as quickly, I don't feel like, as the natural sun. So just for a precaution, I spray paint sealed all of these with a Rust-Oleum 2x clear gloss, just to make sure that glitter would not move into the other glitters. And then after those were dry, I am applying one layer of Flynn Sisters. I did not use the fast set. I'm using the Artist Cure resin for all of these. Okay, next day after my resin is completely cured, I took them outside. I scraped off the overflow epoxy from the rims of all of them, and then I sanded them down, and I paid really close attention to using a fine grit sanding block for the areas around where the colors touched one another, because that's where I was going to be applying either washi tape or vinyl or whatever you want to use. I decided to use, I think this is a 1/2 inch double-sided tape. I'll have to measure. I decided to use double-sided tape to apply instead of a silver vinyl. I like the appearance of the foil because it makes it look kind of rustic. It gives it those little creases and like imperfections that I absolutely love. And so I used the silver foil first, and then I applied 3 very thin strips of permanent vinyl over the top. So I did 1 strip around the edge of this double-sided tape, and then I did one strip straight down the middle. I have several sheets of vinyls that are cut in complete 12 by 12 sheets. They're all little strips for like outlining tangram tumblers or whatever you need. I cut my strips at 11.5 inches long. I don't do the whole 12-inch because my machine always says it's too big for whatever reason. I don't know why. So I do 11.5 inches long by 0.06 inches wide, which gives you those really tiny strips. And I just pulled those strips as tight to the handle as I could. And now I'm just taking a sliver of the excess vinyl strip and just wrapping it around the handle where a normal metal piece right below the eraser would be. I just wrapped it so it looks like a little coil that wrapped around the bottom of the handle. Super cute. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom. So I'm using gold between the black and the brown, and then I'm also using the gold for the zigzag, and I'm going to take two pieces instead of wrapping like a coil. I'm just going to put one small piece on the handle where the pink ends and the silver begins, and then I'm going to put another piece on the other side of the silver. So then that silver will be sandwiched in between two small strips of gold. After I had all the foils on all the tumblers with all the outlines, because this gold is a metallic foil, I really wanted, sometimes that foil pulls up in areas which really bothers me. So I wanted this foil to, or all these vinyls to really have a chance to adhere to the tumbler before I started putting epoxy on it. So before I even spray sealed, I let them sit overnight just to make sure they were good and stuck. And then when I came back in the morning, one of the gold pieces did pull up on the bottom between the black and the brown. So I had a chance to fix that. Had I put epoxy over the top of it without giving it a chance to adhere completely to the tumbler, I would have been really upset the next day because you can't get that off very easily once the epoxy is on it. I would have had it would have just been a headache. So I always let mine sit for a little bit. Then I put one layer of just Artist Cure resin over the top of it and let that sit. And that's how I'm going to leave these, because when I sell these, I'm going to add these to my website next week. When I sell these, I want to give people a chance to add a name to it. So I don't want to put the final layer of epoxy over the top of it until I know for sure people don't want their names on them. Or if they want their name, I need to add the name, then put the final layer of epoxy. This is a super fun cup to make for back to school, open house, or just for yourself. Change up the colors, make it complex, whatever you want to do. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, please leave any questions or comments below, and thank you so much for watching.